We were the first class that went to school in 1936 at St. Mary's School.
I've been a resident of Lafayette since I was born at St. Elizabeth Hospital in 1938.
I was here for 8 years, okay? And then I went away for a long time, and then when I fell ill a couple of years ago, I asked the bishop to be able to send me back there here for recoupment.
Founded in 1825 by a fur trader named William Digby, the city of Lafayette was named after the Revolutionary War hero General Marquis de Lafayette. In Brittany, France, a Catholic sister with 5 companions set out on a difficult journey by steamboat and stagecoach.
They were great pioneers for education in this area. They literally came in the wilderness.
In 1840, they arrived just a few miles outside of Terre Haute, Indiana, the Sisters of Providence of St. Mary of the Woods. That sister would later be known as St. Theodore Guerin.
You know, she came from France. She came here to found schools out in the wilderness at the request of the Diocese of Vincennes. He invited her and her girls to come out here. Pardon me, her sisters.
Blessed Pope Pius IX was elected in 1846 during a period of war and famine in Europe. The revolutions of 1848 saw war in France, Poland, Austria, Italy, and Germany. In Ireland, the Great Famine killed more than 1 million people in the span of 7 years, leading to almost 1.7 million Irish immigrants entering the United States. In the mid-19th century, most Lafayette area Catholics were Irish.
It's a mixed community there. Of course, you know, this is very big on its Irish heritage. They have a big St. Patrick's Day party every year, and that's great.
Under Father Michael Clark, they founded Saints Mary and Martha in 1844. It was here at the corner of 5th and Brown Streets that the first Catholic church was built. On February 7, 1847, Pope Pius approved the request by the 23 American bishops to make Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception the patroness of the United States. This was 6 years before Blessed Pope Pius IX released the papal bull, Ineffabilis Deus.
Because actually that was proclaimed in 1854, if I'm not mistaken, by Blessed Pius IX, yeah.
We declare, pronounce, and define that the doctrine which holds that the Blessed Virgin Mary, at the first instant of her conception, by a singular privilege and grace of the omnipotent God, in virtue of the merits of Jesus Christ, the Savior of mankind, was preserved immaculate from all stain of original sin, has been revealed by God, and therefore should firmly and constantly be believed by all the faithful.
In 1860, Lawrence B. Stockton donated a plot of land on Columbia Street to become a church, a rectory, and a school. St. Theodore Guerin's Sisters of Providence were deeded land to build a combined convent and school. 1861. Abraham Lincoln assumed his office as president, and the earthwork and foundation of the new church on Columbia Street were completed. Father Kilroy, the priest at the time, named the future church after the recently declared dogma, St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception. In the summer of 1861, all construction on the new church stopped due to the war. Father Kilroy left to help supervise care of the Civil War wounded in Indiana. Father George Hamilton was from Kentucky, and in early 1862 he assumed responsibility for the parish in Lafayette. Father Hamilton found that our congregation was poor and the church on Brown Street was too small for our congregation. Father Hamilton urged the parish to raise the money to complete the new church on Columbia Street and to build a rectory beside it.
It's a cathedral in the old classical style of cathedrals, yet it was never built to be a cathedral. It was built to be a parish church, because at that time there were only 2 cathedrals in the whole state of Indiana.
In 1865, the Civil War ended and construction of the new church began in earnest.
And then they start building it again. And when the soldiers came home and laid down their arms, because many Irish people, they wanted to be patriotic here, and so they went to fight the war, to save the Republic.
The Sisters of Providence continued to reside in their convent and school next to the church. St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception Church was dedicated on August 15, 1866, by Bishop John Henry Lures of Fort Wayne. The Gothic Revival structure is constructed mostly of red brick and limestone capping. At the time it opened, it could seat 800 people. It was illuminated with oil lamps and heating consisting of small, freestanding stoves that used coal.
The rectory was put up in 1865.
Well, it had a lot of stairs. The basement, you had to go down the basement, up the stairs to the second floor.
In 1867, Father Hamilton persuaded the Brothers of the Holy Cross from Notre Dame to build a school for boys.
Well, they had schools here before then, too, the Holy Cross Brothers, who taught me in Ohio.
Boys who were taught by the brothers were widely sought after as accountants and bookkeepers. In 1868, a Lafayette newspaper listed under the Sunday Directory:
Catholic Church, St. Mary's, Columbia Street, east of the Valley Road. Masses, Sabbath morning at 10:30, and Vespers at 3 and 7 o'clock in the evening. Reverend Father Hamilton, pastor.
On April 8, 1875, Father Hamilton died suddenly. He was buried in the basement of the church beneath the altar of the Blessed Virgin. In the basement today, you will see 2 burial mounds. Legend has it that his friend and the man who gave so much to the church, Indian Bill Davis, is buried there next to Father Hamilton. Following Father Hamilton, Father Joseph Rademacher was pastor. After only a few years, he was consecrated Bishop of Nashville. He was replaced at St. Mary's by Father Edward P. Walters. By 1887, Father Walters renovated the church, installing the stained glass windows that can still be seen today.
And I like the grotto picture of the stained glass that's depicted there on the other side.
Well, if you look at that window right up there, that should tell you a lot right there. I believe it's one of the first in the country because In 1858 was when the apparition of Our Lady of Lourdes took place, and there is a window marking that apparition. The Daughters of Providence came here and set up a school for girls, okay?
1895. The new priest of St. Mary's, Father Denon, purchased the boys' school and grounds from the community of the Holy Cross. The Sisters of Providence then taught all of St. Mary's children. In 1897, it was decided to complete the exterior of the church by putting up a bell tower and steeple. When completed in May of 1898, the 12-foot cross on the tall steeple could be seen all over Lafayette. In the fall of 1923, the girls and boys were taught in the same classes at the Old Boys School. The combined school was called St. Mary's School. In 1928, St. Ignatius Academy was closed when the Sisters of St. Francis opened a high school for girls behind St. Elizabeth Hospital. On November 15, 1944, the new Diocese of Lafayette was created. St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception was now a cathedral.
By its very title, it means it's the place that holds the chair over which the bishop presides. It comes from the Greek word cathedra, which means the chair of authority, which is one of the central pieces of this church.
There were over 30,000 Catholics in the new diocese. Our first bishop was to be Reverend John G. Bennett.
My brother was the mitre and I was the crozier for Bishop Bennett back in when he first came here as the bishop, and we heart decorating did the church when we first became a cathedral.
And I think one of the things that Bishop Bennett was really all for 100% when he founded the diocese was the founding of a Catholic school. What I like about this diocese is that it's had a big emphasis on Catholic education of the youth.
Our class was First Communion class there, and we had confirmation, and it was with Father Chapman, was the pastor at that time.
I went to St. Mary's School for all 8 years and graduated in 1952.
In 1935, Father Chapman came with instructions from the bishop to build a new parochial school. It was dedicated on September 7th, 1936.
And we didn't have a playground at the time, so we would go up on the roof.
They would actually allow us to go up on the roof and play. I can't imagine if OSHA were around at that time, we would have had a citation for sir. Never would have played, but.
It was a nice school, and it was brand new, so that was nice.
Monsignor had me go over and teach, especially the little kids, their catechism. He said, keep it simple, don't get complicated, Father. Because when I speak about religion, I tend to get a little more theological, And the school, I think, is the reason that the parish is still standing. I believe that.
And my son told me one time that was the best thing I ever did, was to send him, to the Catholic schools. We would go over to the sisters when we had recess. Sometimes we'd go over and ask the sisters if we could do anything for them, and they'd give us little jobs to do, like iron napkins. But we thought that was better than recess sometimes. Yeah, the sisters were always so nice to us, kept us in line.
Well, I mentioned Sister Maureen and Sister Gaudentia and Sister Edward Ann and Sister Marie, I just one after the other. I had number of nuns that I remember really stand out in my mind was my second grade teacher, Sister Gaudentia. Sister Gaudentia would pick up her beads and when she was running so you wouldn't hear her coming. Remember that building where the nuns lived before we built that new building, which is on the east side of the church.
In September of 1954, construction began on a new convent for the Sisters of Providence at the corner of 13th and South Streets. The building would house 10 sisters and would replace the convent school that was constructed in 1860. In 1956, the St. Ignatius Academy building was demolished. On August 22, 1956, Bishop Carberry was formally installed as coadjutor, bishop, and pastor of St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception Cathedral. The interior of the church was redecorated. The shrine of the Sorrowful Mother, previously along the eastern wall, was moved to a niche near the western front door, corresponding to the baptistry on the eastern side of the church.
We had Father Eller who would dance a jig. We had Father Geschwind who owned a Studebaker Golden Hawk. The first fast ride I ever had was with Father Geschwind.
And the priests have all been nice. I've met a lot of priests. I think I've met at least 50.
Monsignor Chapman, Monsignor Schweier, Monsignor Potoff.
And then somebody said he needed some help at the rectory, so I went over and talked to him, and that's when I started working at the rectory. And it was I was there for 35 years.
I was a young assistant. That's the way he would talk, you know. He was always very pointed. He'd keep going like this, and I thought, are you trying to teach me something, Monsignor?
On January 31st, 1958, Reverend Frederick E. Potoff was appointed pastor of St. Mary's by Bishop Carberry. He was 39 years old, showing the confidence that Bishop Carberry had in his abilities.
Meeting Monsignor Potoff, the pastor at that time, which was a pleasant meeting, and we've held friendship for many years until God called him home about 2 years ago. He's buried out now at St. Mary's Cemetery out by the river.
Oh, he was very quiet. He was, I think, a very caring man.
Very quiet, and until I came along. Monsignor was a great advocate of Catholic education. He came here, and he was here to the day he died.
I can remember when we had a wrought iron structure and the altar was faced away from the congregation. And then, of course, we, I think it was in the late 40s, early 50s, we went ahead and we no longer had a communion rail.
It means it's the place that holds the chair over which the bishop presides, which is one of the central pieces. It was even made more central when the bishop, Bishop Higgy decided in the 1990s to redo the cathedral. Yep.
2000. The construction of additions to the church building, the gathering space, and Bishop's Memorial Hall resulted in Mass being celebrated in the gymnasium of the school for a time.
We didn't know what to expect because there was so much scaffolding and everything up, but it's beautiful.
The addition to the front of the church extended across the entire front. This addition connected with the new gathering space, which had access from the upper parking lot. There was a brick plaza in front of the doors that had the names of all the parishes in the diocese and names of people who wished to be memorialized on other bricks.
I think the feeling in the church is much more closely related to the congregation than it was in the past.
Oh yes, I walked in that Sunday and I just had tears in my eyes. It was so beautiful.
(2016). For 150 years, this community has been at Columbia Street. The parish has grown from 25 families, immigrants at the edge of a fledgling country, to over 1,200 families with origins from all over the world.
A lot of the people here, I have a happy memory of a lot of the people who were here before.
The St. Mary's School has educated thousands of children in the world and in their faith.
Well, I hope it goes on just like it is. It's a wonderful parish, and I really enjoyed, going there.
The beautiful architecture has made it a landmark in the city of Lafayette. Its stone, stained glass windows, statues, and paintings all seem overshadowed by its greatest asset, its people in communion with God.
So many of your moments in life that are pivotal seem to be related to the church and your faith.
Saint Mary of the Immaculate Conception is not defined by stone and mortar, but by every person who helped found it, by every student who walked through its doors, by every sacrament celebrated under its vaulted ceiling, by its parishioners united with Jesus Christ, united in love and mercy.